right, everybody. Welcome to the Hoops Rehab Show, football edition on a Sunday night. How you doing, Eric?
Good, man. Has anybody ever heard of punting or kicking a field goal?
No, not when you're Nick Sirianni or Dan Campbell. You just go for like every single fourth down.
Seems like
it. Likely cost somebody a game, but that's the way it goes when you're trying to be aggressive, like always throughout the whole season. You double down, triple down, and that's what Dan Campbell did.
Yeah. If you're aggressive all season, you don't want to be like picky and choosy, I guess, when to be aggressive. I mean, that's probably the worst thing you could do. But I mean, sometimes you gotta know, like, okay, this game, like, points are at a premium and field position is at a premium, right? But hey, what do I know?
Yeah, we'll get into Dan Campbell and kind of these Eagle team as we go on tonight. But as always, everybody, I am the Gameinjurydoc, aka Dr. Evan Jeffries. On my right is Eric B. Mack. We are the host of the Hoops Rehab Show. This is the football edition on Sundays. We are always coming out with the football news, covering the injuries, covering everything you need in the NFL. You can find us at our YouTube. So if you are live right now, please hit that subscribe button. And hit the notification so you can always get our notifications when we go live or have any content. We also have the Instagram, the Hoops Rehab Show, on there as well. And after the show, we'll be uploading the pod. So wherever you get your podcasts, please download the Hoops Rehab Show. Hit that follow button, hit the automatic download so you don't miss a beat. All right, Eric, you ready to get this cracking?
Let's get it cracking.
All right, man. So I figured we would get into, best of NFC, best of AFC. And what better way to start it than Sunday Night Football? You had a matchup between the Eagles and the Lions. And man, it was another snooze fest, in my opinion. But that's just the way the Eagles are playing right now. Their defense is legitimate. They are, I would say, over the past couple of weeks, they have shown that they have a top-tier defense. But their offense is just... I don't know if you could win a Super Bowl with it, but what would you make of their offense right now and just how well they're playing on defense?
They're 8-2. Can't take any away from that record. They're beating good teams too. They're winning close games. Offense is not looking anything near it as it did last year. Obviously, same pieces for the most part. I mean, they're definitely all the skill position guys. Defense was really good last year. It's even better this year. And so, at the end of the day, they're going to most likely have the best record in the NFC, and you're going to have to go to Philly and win a playoff game against that defense. So, I mean, I'm going to give them a chance always if that's what ends up happening, them getting the number one seed. I mean, I think you have to give them a shot because we know how it is through the years. It's tough going in there and winning. But I would imagine they'd like their offense to kind of start clicking a bit, and at least a tad as we go down the stretch run of the regular season.
Eric, are the Eagles bored? Like, are they legitimate? Like, I feel like I want to equate this Eagles team to like NBA teams in the regular season where they're just like, we're just going to coast throughout the regular season. And when we get into playoffs, we'll turn it into another gear. Can you do that in football?
Yeah. We obviously talking about basketball. When we were talking about the Thunder, they were kind of doing the opposite of that this year where you win a chip and, you kind of, not take the regular season so serious because you know how tough it is. No matter how good you are in the regular season, you know how tough it is in the playoffs. But football is a little different. One game is all it takes, and you feel like you need to have kind of your I mean, it's not going to really matter, of course, in the playoffs what you do in the regular season, but kind of your habits, right? It could come back to bite you with one game. If Philly just doesn't have it on offense one game and hey, maybe their defense has an off day. It happens to everyone. That could do them in. They could be a little bored. Or I mean, we talked about early in the season, or it's like the one year that they made the Super Bowl and lost to Kansas City, where the year after they started off kind of 9-1, 10-1, and
10-1, yeah.
yes, at the end, and we're at that territory now. So there just isn't really anybody in that division that's gonna catch up to them. I'd say that's the only difference. So I think they're definitely bound to, like, for sure, win their division. It's just about the seeding now, and so there's just some teams that are going to be fighting for that one seed. It's not all done, right? I mean, you got obviously teams like the Bears, Packers, Rams, Seahawks, but to answer your question, they do seem a tad bit bored.
Yeah, I mean, I just have a hard time believing in the NFL you can turn it on when you want to. Right. I feel like basketball you can kind of coast, and then you get these 7-game series, so you can even just kind of tune yourself into those games. And as you get to the first round, second round, third round, and so on. Football, it's a 1-game playoff, right? Like, you win or you go home, and so that's what makes it, to me, I can't believe they are the best team in the NFC right now.
Yep.
Based on a single elimination playoff, right? So if they're going into playoffs like this, I find it hard for them to win it all. But if you see in the next couple of weeks that they're starting to turn on their offense, their defense is still clicking, then they are the elite Super Bowl contending team, which I think they are. I just don't know if they're going to eventually turn this thing around on offense.
Oh yeah. It's a little late in the season. I mean, they obviously, that's right, guys. So they played. So last week they're winning games. Obviously that's what's important. But last week I totally forgot it was that Monday night game, 10-7 against Green Bay. That win against the Rams could come to a head, right? If they tie, they obviously have that tiebreaker. Just kind of looking at their schedule, they won at Kansas City. They did lose to Denver. And then what do they got coming up? So they got at Dallas coming up. They got the Bears, at Chargers. They got at Buffalo in there. So still got some tough games. But I don't know. I don't even know if the Eagles could really answer to kind of what's going on, because, like I said, same personnel as last year. Same quarterback, same running back, receivers, tight end. To my understanding, I mean, offensive line for the most part is intact. But then again, they're winning. Yeah,
they're finding ways to win the game, and that's what Super Bowl champs do. So it's hard for me to say they won't get there, but I just need to see a little bit more on offense. I wanted to get to a couple questions here, so people are aware. We got Keenan saying, hey guys, did you discuss the Jacobs injury yet? We are going to be discussing the injuries kind of towards the end of the show. So leave some comments if you guys have some people that you want to talk about in the injury realm or anything to do with fantasy. We'll kind of get to those towards the end of the show. But I also wanted to get to just the other side of the NFC. So the NFC West, you had the Rams and Seattle match up today for pretty much the NFC West showdown. Came down to the last minute, last kick, and Seattle missed a kick, and obviously the Rams won. But what do you think about the game and kind of where the Rams and Seattle kind of match up there?
Yeah, the schedule makers got it pretty good for this this week. You got the Eagles and the Lions, who I see two of the top teams in the NFC, along with Rams and Seahawks. It's just interesting how it worked out. So I think, man, obviously Rams won it, and sometimes you win those ugly games, but the fact that there was 4 interceptions by Seattle, I don't think Rams had any turnovers. Seattle got to the red zone so many times, but just they couldn't get touchdowns, and sometimes I think that's why teams do go for 4th downs here and there, because you field goals, sometimes you lose games if you kick a lot of field goals. But I'm sure Seattle's got to feel decent knowing that they got the Rams in Seattle in a couple of weeks as well. Obviously, you don't feel good about losing games, but I mean, hey, they were right there. But at the end of the day, Rams won. Rams continue to be hot. and they're, I would say, up there in terms of maybe the top team in the NFC. But they still got that big one on Thursday in a few weeks where it could be just as big as this one.
Yeah, I would say obviously it was a kind of slugfest in terms of the defense there, and Rams didn't particularly do what they're normally doing, especially in the first half. Stafford kind of turned it around a little bit in the second half, but their defense is elite. I mean, 4 interceptions from Darnold. Yep. They give up the least amount of points in the NFL right now. I believe, just making sure, double checking there, but I believe they're definitely in the NFC. They have the least amount. I'll check on the Patriots real quick and give me 1 second. But
yep,
I just think that overall, obviously they have an offense that can explode anytime they want, but if you have a top tier defense with that, to me, that puts them over the top of the Eagles, right? And the Rams obviously came one play away to kind of get in the Super Bowl last year. Game was in Philadelphia. So obviously they would like the home field advantage if they could, if they got the number 1 seed. But where would you put the Rams in the NFC right now? Where would you rank them?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of obviously talked about an ugly win. And so I think you kind of learn more about your team in these type of wins. So you have to be able to win different ways. Obviously we just talked about Philly has kind of won a lot of those type of games, and we kind of see it as like not a great thing. But with the Rams, we've seen them win by scoring a bunch, by a little bit of offense with some great defense. And then today was just a lot of great defense. And so, yeah, if you, November 16th, if you're asking me today, I would probably have to put the Rams up right now as the best team in the NFC. I'd love a showdown again with Rams and Philly. I'm sure Rams would probably like it to be at their house this time around. But yeah, I'd have to put the Rams up at the number 1 slot. What about yourself?
Yeah, right now, I would say if you asked me who would win in a head-to-head matchup right now, I would put the Rams there. Philly's defense is playing at an elite level the last couple of weeks, but Rams as a whole has been playing like that throughout the whole season. It's Houston has given up the least amount of points. They're at 163 with the Rams being at 172. Houston's defense is pretty damn good. That's why they're 5-5, even though they were kind of left for dead a while back there. But yeah, the Rams in the NFC have hands down one of the best defense out there. So I'll definitely put them as the number 1 kind of team out there.
Yeah. I mean, and it could flip. It's all fluid. It could flip flop. There's a lot of top teams right now in the NFC, at least a few of them. And so just their body of work, and then now how the games actually look and how the teams look. It's got to be Rams, but I mean, I think Rams and Philly would end up being like a toss up kind of game in the playoffs. I think even Detroit and the Rams would be a tough game if that were to happen. So I do like the Rams kind of where they're positioned going into the last 6 weeks or so.
Yeah, and if I had to kind of put a top 3 in there right now, it's obviously going to be Rams, Philly, and then for me, my third team is going to be the San Francisco 49ers. Because I feel them getting Brock Purdy back, and if he can obviously stay healthy and kind of stabilize that team, they're finally getting healthy. They got Kittle back, obviously. They got Pearsall back this week. McCaffrey has stayed healthy. So if they can continue to get healthy as the season progresses, that's a team to watch out, in my opinion, in the NFC.
Yeah, I mean, I like their schedule coming up. I mean, they have such big injuries on the defensive side that they won't be coming back this year. Obviously, basically their heart and soul. But yeah. I mean, they got a great defensive coach. They have a lot of young talent on the defensive side, and sometimes these defenses you just gel right as the season goes on. So yeah, that is a team that I was kind of thinking as well. I think they got from what I remember, got Carolina, then I think Tennessee, and then maybe I don't know if it's Jets or some. They're going to win. I think 11, 12 ball games, maybe 11 games. And so yeah, want to face them, in the wild card for sure.
Yeah, they had one of the easier schedules coming into the season. That's why I kind of put them up there early on, but then they just had such massive injuries on both sides of the ball that it's amazing to see that they're actually 7-4 at this point in the season. So
yeah, I mean, Fred Warner, Nick Bosa, I mean, those guys, you probably need them in a big game, but I mean, they're like next man up for sure, and their offense seems like it's going to be, like you said, getting healthy, and that's really been clicking, actually, their offense, no matter who has been at quarterback. So
for sure,
definitely a team to watch out for.
All right, and before we kind of get into the AFC, I want to answer one question before we get into that.
I saw that.
We got Dustin here. What's up, fellas? Up 69, and they still have Javonte Williams, Bowers, and Genty. Am I good? All right, Eric, I'll let you answer that one first.
So 69, obviously, I'm wondering if it's like PPR, that would be obviously a little bit of a difference. Maybe not so much with Genty and Javonte Williams, but obviously with Bowers. I would rather be you than the other guy, if that makes any sense. Because if you think about it, each player would have to average about, 23 points?
Yep.
And so that's going to be above the average of all three players, I would assume, right? And so I think you're in good shape there. Not like 100% and like don't even watch the game, but I think you should be okay.
Yeah, for sure. I think you're going to win the game. It'd be shocking to lose that. But those are three kind of good players. So that's the only thing that you're kind of a little bit worried about. But I don't think all three will have over 20-point games or anything like that. So you should be in good hands there, Dustin. And just quickly, before we get to the AFC, we are going to talk about injuries after this next segment. So stay tuned. We'll have all the injuries covering Drake London, Aaron Rodgers, Josh Jacobs, Michael Penix Jr., and then anybody else that you guys put in the comments, we'll kind of get to. All right, so switching to the AFC, Eric.
Yep.
What did you make out of today? And then also you can kind of date back to Thursday's game. But who do you think is solidifying their top spot in the AFC right now?
Man, I when I was watching Denver and Kansas City, I didn't realize, I'm like, ooh, this is like a big game because Kansas City was at that time 4 losses and Denver had 2, and I'm like, for Kansas City to most likely win the division, they probably got to get this game, and they did not. So they're still outside of the playoffs looking in, and so I think I don't know, man. It's just it's different from the NFC where you got like your top teams. Your teams up top, and I feel those are the ones that are the best teams. AFC, I think when you have a defense like Denver, you they're always going to have a chance, I think, especially if they can get a 1 seed. I know you got the Colts there too. New England. I don't think any of those 3 are going to the Super Bowl. I mean, maybe that's just me. I'll be honest with you. Those 3 are not going to the Super Bowl. I'll tell you right now, November 16th, as I said. And so I don't like, so I'm still Wars. I feel bad for whoever is going to host Kansas City in a wild card, because I do think Chiefs will end up kind of finding a way to get into the playoffs. But I have to show some respect, and I gotta just put Denver there specifically just because they have a really, really good defense, and that can take you far. I mean, they won a Super Bowl because of their defense.
Yeah. So when you look at the AFC, right, you got 2 9-2 teams that are led by second-year quarterbacks in Drake May and Bo Nix.
Yeah.
So it's hard for me to say that those 2 teams will get to the Super Bowl, right? And those are the top 2 teams of the AFC as of right now. Yep. You make a good point with saying Denver's D is obviously legit. So is the Patriots, right? So those are 2 of the top tier defenses in the league and also in the AFC. Now there's some teams that have veteran quarterbacks, obviously all pro quarterbacks, like the Buffalo Bills, Josh Allen. You got, obviously, you still got Patrick Mahomes and the Chiefs that they kind of sneak into there. You're always going to worry about that. Then you got Lamar Jackson and the 4-game winning streak Baltimore Ravens, who have Pittsburgh Steelers just 1 game above them, with Aaron Rodgers having fractured wrist. So I think there's a lot in play here. But if I were going to go on the limb and say who are my top teams right now, I would put more of the veteran type of leaders right now. I'll probably put the Bills. I mean, this is going to sound terrible, but I'm going to put the Bills, the Ravens,
yeah,
and then I'm going to put Denver and the Patriots.
Okay.
I don't want to disrespect the young guns, but I just feel
about the Colts.
If I was going to trust anybody, they didn't put them in there just yet. And when they get on the bye week, I understand. I got to see them, what they're like next week, but they do have a veteran quarterback in at least Daniel Jones. So I would almost put them in that same kind of tier with these veteran teams in some bucket there. I don't know. What would you say with that kind of lineup versus just putting the Broncos and Patriots at the top of the top?
Yeah, I mean, I feel the same way. It's not like, I don't know if it's just us just kind of not realizing it's like a new era in the AFC. I mean, it could be. We just tend to kind of go with like the best quarterbacks and the most experienced quarterbacks, and that tends to kind of lead the way in the NFL, especially in big games, right? Fourth quarter, it's tight in the playoffs. Like who would you rather have? Like Josh Allen, Lamar, Patrick Mahomes, right? Or Bo Nix, Drake May, right? But hey, everybody was, Tom Brady was young, right? Second year.
True. That's true.
Roethlisberger made it, I think, his rookie season to the AFC Championship.
It's true.
Maybe his second or third, they won the Super Bowl, something like that. So it's not like it's would be a precedent, but I think right now we're still kind of going with Patrick Mahomes. Yeah, yeah, seriously. So it's not like we haven't seen it before, but when you got these like studs in the AFC quarterback wise, it's like, man, you're gonna have to go toe to toe, and you're gonna. There's no way they're gonna wiggle around these guys. They're gonna have to face at least one or two of them to get to the Super Bowl.
Yeah, I'll tell you one team I won't put in the AFC contention at all, and that's the Los Angeles Chargers. Because when you go into Jacksonville and you get wallywomp by the Jags without their receivers, without 2 of their receivers, one of their running backs gets injured, there is no excuse for that team to go in there and just lay an egg. So don't even get me started with going to the East Coast and all that shit.
Yeah, it was on my mind. It was on my mind.
To the East Coast, 10 a.m. game. Blah. Chargers have done this forever, where they go into the East Coast. They're terrible in the East Coast. You just can't trust them going into the playoffs like that, because obviously they're going to have to go play Chiefs, Baltimore. They're going to have to go somewhere, right? Have to go to New England, have to go to these places. They're not going to win a game. So I can already write them off. I just don't feel like they're going to have – they've had a lot of injuries, so I don't think they're going to have that kind of talent level when it's all said and done at the end.
Yeah, honestly, Joe Alt and then obviously Rashawn Slater, right? Those two O-line guys being out. We don't really think of it as this, but it's just like having 2 stud wide receivers out or a stud, defensive lineman. Like, it is that important. And then the running backs are all beat up. And so, I get it. Welcome to the NFL. They're not the only team in that boat. But yeah, I think they have a good record, right? 7-4, have to feel pretty decent.
Sure.
Obviously played terrible today. I see them kind of, maybe getting second or third in that division, making the playoffs, see if Jim Harbaugh in his year 2 can make some of that Jim Harbaugh magic. But yeah, I don't put them up with like the top like 4 or 5 in the AFC. That's for sure.
Yeah. So I think that kind of wraps up. I need to see more out of the young guys. I'm not saying that they can't be the best team or they're getting to the Super Bowls, but I just need to see a little bit more as we get later into the season if these guys are truly, especially out of Denver. I feel like I've seen enough out of New England a little bit, but Denver offensively and Bo Nix, he hasn't been where, say, Drake May has been. So I kind of want to see a little bit more out of him to kind of solidify their kind of position in the AFC there.
Yeah, they've definitely won more sluggish type games than New England has, and so we'll see in a big moment if they're there.
Yeah. All right, guys, let us know who you think is the best in the NFC or AFC. You can drop it on the comments in the live YouTube or live Twitter. Let us know, and we'll get to that at the end of the show. I'm going to get to one question before we get to the injuries. We got Keenan. I'm down 43 points. He still has the Cowboys D, and I have Dak, Javonte, Lamb, and Bowers. What do you like my odds to come back and win? Did you say Dak, Javonte, Lamb, and Bowers?
Yeah, opposite to Dustin earlier. Yeah, I feel the opposite about this one.
Keenan, if you don't win with those four players, then you don't deserve to win. Because that would be a sad loss if you don't get that many points out of those players. So I think you're in a good spot there.
Yeah, I mean, you got to figure Cowboys D. Let's give Cowboys D 10 points, right? So you're down 53. I still think with those four guys, you should be able to come back and win it.
Yeah, especially if this is a PPR league, which most leagues seem to be nowadays.
Yep. Thank you, though. Thanks for the question. Good luck.
Thanks for the question. All right, so there's a lot of kind of major injuries going into this Sunday and then into the Sunday night and things like that. So I wanted to kind of get on here and discuss those injuries and how they will impact the teams and from a fantasy perspective moving forward. So the first guy I want to get into is Josh Jacobs, right? So he left today's game with a left knee injury. Yep. And from the looks of it, I kind of posted a little video on that. So if you look at Gameinjurydoc on all platforms, you'll see a little video content on it. But based on the mechanism, he essentially hit his knee into the ground, like a flex knee into the ground. We've seen this throughout the season. Brock Bowers, week 1, they didn't really talk about it, but it ended up being a PCL injury. Blanking on the other person that had a PCL injury as well earlier. But to me, that is the mechanism of a PCL injury. They said he avoided any serious or kind of like season-ending injury. So that'd be like ACL, anything that would require major surgery. Now the PCL, it gets stressed whenever you hit a flex knee, which causes force to come this way onto the back of the ligament. So that's how you sprain it. Typically, you don't like tear it completely like a grade 3. Those take an extreme amount of force. Sometimes you only see those like in car accidents when your knee hits the dashboard. But in football cases, usually these are like grade 1, grade 2 type of sprains. So the hope would be this would be more of a minor sprain. It seems that he was in good spirits. They're going to do a little bit more testing tomorrow. But what did you think of kind of this injury and kind of the impact on the Packers there?
What was the other guy? Was it Ricky Pearsall?
Pearsall. There we go. Yeah.
So he was out for a few weeks too, right?
He was out for quite some time, like about six weeks or so. Yeah. Yeah.
So I wonder obviously just probably depends on pain tolerance and the severity and whatnot. So obviously it'd be a big deal if he ends up being out that amount of time. And then obviously with him, Josh Jacobs, I mean, he's such a big part of the offense and he carries a heavy load. So I would imagine, these games are probably just as important as the end of the year or towards the end of the year. But I guess we'll see kind of how the practice week goes. And in terms of like fantasy, it obviously hurts whoever's got him. And then for the Packers, I mean, he's kind of been their saving grace the last couple of seasons.
Yeah. He's been the most consistent Packer, I would say, especially offensively. Like, he had those streaks of scoring, I think like what he scored about 10 touchdowns, 10 weeks in a row. I mean, one touchdown each week, but he was definitely by far the most consistent player on the offensive end. So definitely huge loss, especially how they've been struggling. Really getting the receivers because they've had a lot of injuries there, but they have had Kraft go down. Now they've had Jacobs go down. Lost Jaden Reed to really start the season. Christian Watson was on reserve until he finally came back. So Matthew Golden has been out. So it's been rough sledding for the Packers, but let's hope it's in the minor range. But if you're looking at kind of grades, a grade 1 would usually equal 1 to 2 weeks of healing time, and a grade 4 would be or grade 2 would be in that 4 to 6 weeks healing time frame. It's probably what Bowers end up really having, and also what Pearsall probably had there.
Yeah, that'll be obviously as we're heading down to the stretch run, that will be pretty key. So hopefully it's just something that is kind of on the lower scale. Like you said, he was in good spirits, and hopefully he's out. I mean, gotta assume maybe he'll miss a game, but
sure,
hopefully it's not much more than that for his sake.
For sure. And for fantasy perspective, if you can, go ahead and pick up his backup, Emmanuel Wilson. That'll be the guy that will probably much get the bulk of the carries. He's also been kind of their receiving back a little bit too, so he's kind of been involved in the offense a lot. So he might get a little bit more production out of him, basically because he gets a lot of receiving yards too as well. So obviously he's going to be a big kind of claim on the waiver wire this week.
Yep, absolutely.
All right. So second kind of injury I wanted to talk about was Drake London. So he left the game with actually a similar type of injury. It's going to kind of be a theme here. There's 3 knee injuries that all look about the same. He again was going for a pass, hit his knee against the ground. His knee was flexed. Didn't look as much impact as the Jacobs. It was almost on the lateral side. It wasn't just straight the knee to the ground. It kind of was on the side of it. So I'm a little bit more hopeful on his injury not being too severe. Maybe a bone bruise, or maybe possibly just a light PCL sprain, or not even one at all. So look for him to tomorrow, maybe if he's getting an MRI if needed. Also look for reports that he might be just day-to-day, probably be very limited in practice. He's been a tough guy. He's played through a lot. He's already had a lot of things he's been dealing with this season. So might be one of those things like they need to give him just a week off anyways to rest his body, and then he would be back the following week. But I don't think it's too severe like Josh Jacobs.
Yeah. I mean, he's on a team that's just really, really struggling right now. Just realized the Falcons have lost 5 straight, but it's you got to think about that a little bit with fantasy. Like, are they going to really want to rush him back? Right. I mean, the season's pretty much lost. And obviously for a guy that's been pretty productive when he's been out there this year, it's obviously a blow. But as you said, it's probably hopefully best case scenario for Drake London.
Yeah. So I think I'm a little more optimistic with his injury than, say, Josh Jacobs. I think Jacobs might be out for a couple weeks. But I feel like London, either they give his body a break, especially during practice, obviously, or he misses maybe one game, or maybe not. So we'll find out more in the next couple of days, and then I'll kind of get some reports out there for you guys to kind of update on the Drake London situation.
Yeah, and while he's out, just look for Kyle Pitts to be your guy. Oh,
Eric, you really got to rub it in that way.
Is that a joke, or is that... Sorry, guys.
Okay, that's it. Now it's tangent. It's story time with Evan. It's story time with the game injury doc.
Let's hear.
I have drafted Kyle Pitts way too many damn times, and I don't know if people do this in fantasy, but when you draft somebody a couple of times and they are so disappointing, you put them on the no draft, no pickup, no trading for the list.
Don't even think about it.
Like, I'll give you an example. Derrick Henry. I drafted him for like 3 or 4 years in a row, and the first couple of years of his career, he was just not what he is after that.
I know. Isn't that something?
And I held to it. I never drafted him again. I never did. I don't even care if he's dominated the leagues. I just can't draft him. That is Kyle Pitts. I will never touch Kyle Pitts again on a fantasy roster. I will drop him this week. And if you guys want to hold on to him, be my guest. But Kyle Pitts is not a fantasy tight end. Okay? You can go get Loveland. You can get anybody off the waiver wire. Just don't play Kyle Pitts.
Preach.
Thank you.
But what if he has like a solid like last 3 or 4 games of the season, and then maybe next year kind of
Eric, you could pick him up. I don't care. I'm not going to pick Kyle Pitts again. It was my fault, and I got desperate in picking the third tight end for some reason.
He could bounce. He could bounce out of here, just like that.
All right. So let's go to his.
We got sidetracked there.
A little sidetrack on the injury, but let's go to his quarterback, Michael Penix Jr. He was dealing with throughout the season kind of this bone bruise in his knee. He went down almost the same way. He going down on the sack, going down, getting hit by the defender. It kind of goes down on his knee, and it looks like he re-aggravated the bone bruise. I think they'll do an MRI to make sure there's no PCL sprain there. But again, those 3 players this week that have had similar type of injuries where the knee hits the ground in a flex position, which usually can cause a PCL sprain. So if you hear 3 PCL sprains, it's because it's the same mechanism of injury there. But what they're saying is he aggravated the bone bruise, and likely I see he'll probably be out a little bit. They've lost 5 in a row.
Yeah,
things are not looking good in Atlanta. They're going to have to give him some time to kind of rehab and get back to it there.
Yeah, I mean, I know one of the things, obviously, has been following him was he had some pretty big injuries in the past, and so it's kind of been nicked up a little bit. And so hopefully it's just, hopefully it's not a sign of things to come. I know they would probably want to have him out there just for a repetition standpoint. He obviously is their quarterback of the future. But again, 3-7, somewhat of a lost season. No need to rush him, and obviously risk a further injury.
Yeah, for sure. And then lastly, want to get into the other quarterback in this league that got injured, and that's Aaron Rodgers.
Yep.
Now, it's already been reported that he has a slight fracture in his left wrist. Now, we don't know which bone it is. It could be multiple. It could be the radius. It could be the ulna. It could be the scaphoid. Sometimes when you fall onto the wrist, you get that scaphoid fracture. Now, I would be more concerned if you hear it's like a scaphoid fracture, because that area is just harder to heal, right? So it gets less blood supply in the scaphoid region. So it's called like the watershed. Basically, essentially, doesn't get as much blood supply, takes a little bit longer, and can be more problematic. So I think there's one good thing that they said a slight fracture, so likely he won't need surgery. That would be obviously the thing that would kind of put him out for a while. Number 2, it's his left wrist, so that's a good thing. However, he's still at risk if he were to play on it early, where he just falls again. And how many times you fall in football? Fall right again, and the fracture turns in from a slight fracture, hairline type of fracture, into more of a displaced fracture or more of a serious fracture there. So he is going to be at risk at that. So there probably have to be some sort of bracing that he would have to have on that left wrist, which could he be comfortable playing in? Possibly, but I don't doubt that he's going to miss at least, I would say, a couple weeks here to heal from the fracture, and then allow him to kind of get back with some sort of brace type of thing.
Yeah, I was like flip-flopping the morning games, and for some reason I was watching the last couple of possessions of the half of the Steelers, and the announcer kept talking about, he keeps like shaking his left hand, and so they were kind of calling for something being wrong, and obviously that's what it ended up being. And so obviously it's huge that it's not his throwing hand, but for a Steelers team that has a glimmer of hope still, obviously they're still top of their division and have a chance to maybe make the playoffs and make a small run. They probably will need him to kind of come back, but I would imagine, like you said, a couple weeks off is probably in order.
Yeah, so we'll know more tomorrow when they kind of come out with a more thorough report. But I would think he would at least be missing the next couple of weeks. I'll be surprised if he would play next week.
Right.
Even if it's a slight fracture and it's his left wrist. It's just not a season-ending injury. Like if it was more of a severe fracture and things like that.
Yeah, I figured maybe if it was a playoff game or something, obviously towards the twilight of his career, he may play perhaps, but there's still some games to be played, and they're not going to lose or win the season, next week or two. So
yeah. So look for Mason Rudolph to provide a whole lot of nothing.
The Steelers are just the Steelers, anyways. But yeah.
So like we said before, even with Aaron Rodgers, Baltimore is going to win that division, and now with Aaron Rodgers being injured, I think that will be a little bit more sped up there. When do they play? Do they play? Is it next week or are they? What week is it?
3. Yeah, so they play at Chicago next week, and then they got Buffalo, and then they got at Baltimore.
Come again? Yeah. So they play the 7-3 at Bears.
At Bears. And they got Buffalo.
Don't say at Buffalo.
No, home against Buffalo.
Home against Buffalo. Okay.
At Baltimore.
Okay, so what's their record is?
Got the Lions there
6-5. Okay, so they will be 6-8 by the time Baltimore is that game is over. 6-8, which is not a Mike Tomlin type of team. So they might get that Chicago game, but not with Mason Rudolph. It's going to be difficult, man. I don't know if they win the next 3 games.
I know. You got a Monday nighter against Miami, who will be 6-7 at that time.
Miami's won 3 out of 4.
I know.
They're playing some good defense and doing okay on offense. A-Chain is the sole offensive player on that team. So
absolutely.
All right.
Anyways,
Eric, you got anything else before we get out of here?
That's it. Good luck to all you guys with the fantasy questions. Tomorrow, I'll be kind of watching out for that to see if we predicted right. But other than that.
Yeah, so we'll be uploading some things to kind of talk about these injuries moving forward. If you guys have any questions, comments, just send us some messages. Let us know. Hit us up in the comments. Hit us up on any of these social media platforms, and we will get to those in the next couple of shows. All right, guys. For now, the Hoops Rehab team is out, especially for this football edition. Peace out, guys.